2 minutes in.
And we're back. We had some technical difficulties we had to clean up.
Wow.
But so we were talking about Debo Samuel.
Uh, it's probably money, to be honest. He's interesting because obviously this previous year was his breakout, but he didn't really do much earlier in the NFL career. So, as a player, I respect they want to get paid and they should be, but the team could be like, look, you could be a one-hit wonder here. So, uh, but wants to get traded, it's probably for money. So I don't think there's any problem with the team because he had a good year. So you can't say that the touches aren't there.
I think it's deep. I think it's deeper than that. So I was looking online. I couldn't find anything, but I created my own narrative here. I believe it's because they made him essentially a running back, and he doesn't want to get paid like a running back because the team could basically argue if they continue to give him touches at running back and out of the backfield like that, even if it's in the passing game, that he's a running back. And then they could undervalue him and they could underpay him. And he wants that wide receiver money. And if you look over and you see Devontae Adams and you see all these other receivers getting paid, and I mean getting paid, he wants that receiver money because he is probably he's definitely a top 10 receiver, but he's on the edge of that, just the cusp of that top five receiver with all the touches, with all the yardage. And to your point about the production, yeah, he had lower production, but I mean you're gonna have low production when Jimmy Garoppolo is getting you the ball. So that's the whole reason why he's playing running back is because they've got to come up with creative ways to get him the ball. So I think that it's interesting. I don't foresee him getting traded. I just think it's a contract ploy to get a receiver contract, and we're going to see him in a Niners uniform regardless next year, in my opinion. But if we don't, I think that it will definitely, if he gets traded, he will be traded on draft night. So it's gonna be pretty interesting next couple of days. All right, so that's perfect. Segue into our draft. So we got the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. Who do you think they're going to take?
Uh, you got to take probably the best player available, but they can go either way. So I would go for Adrian Hutchinson, the pass rusher, to pair along Josh Allen, get a young pass rushing duel. So one of the best ways to have a quarterback, you know, keep them on the field. So they're getting sacks, getting pressures, forcing the other team's offense off the field. Then Jacksonville's offense can get on the field. So I'd say just take the best available player, but we don't know who's on their board. So to us, it may seem like a no-brainer, but it may surprise us and go with a different route.
I'm going to go a different route. I think they should trade out. That should be the number one goal here is to trade out. They don't really need a pass rusher. They already have good depth there. They have some good talent there. It's not a need. Um,
Okay.
it's just kind of a excess of riches at this point. If they trade out, they trade back, they could potentially get another pick because for them it's really about bodies, having warm bodies more so than even elite talent, especially on the defensive end. They need to look for more playmakers for Trevor Lawrence. They need offensive line help. Um, it wouldn't hurt to have another tight end. Some secondary help wouldn't hurt. But this is just an embarrassment of riches if they go with Adrian Hutchinson, and all reports indicate that that's where they're going to go, which is fine. You take the best player available. I can never dispute anyone for doing that, but I just think that it's the wrong move. Trade out, trade down, get more talent, and especially in a draft like this where there's a lot of really good players. I don't think there's any studs out there, but there's just a lot of really good players who will probably be really good players for potentially 5 to 10 years or even a Pro Bowl or two. And those are the players they should be targeting and not going for uh, Adrian Hutchinson.
Okay. I
Any other?
don't disagree with that at all. It might as well. I mean, I I'm curious why they haven't traded yet. So unless it's going to happen on draft night, If they wanted to, why haven't they? But maybe because it's not the best quarterback.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that there's no good quarterback, so that's the number one reason why it's like the worst year to have the number one pick when you already have a quarterback. And I think also just the talent is just kind of mid. So you don't really see any true superstars in this draft. There's a bunch of just um, really good players who are probably Pro Bowl level, but no one that's going to be earth shattering.
okay.
Moving on to the next team, the Detroit Lions. What do they do?
Detroit Lions. Well, they got a little salary cap, I believe. I didn't write down the number here. The Lions are interesting. They picked up DJ Chark from the Jags. That was huge. Uh, they got some decent draft capital. They got some couple other free agencies, but they have needs. They need linebackers. They need corners. They need another starter on the offensive line. Probably need another receiver to go with DJ Chark. And then do you keep Jared Goff or do you replace him? Because the head coach of the Lions was like, hey, you don't need an elite quarterback. Yet, elite quarterbacks will win you games. Some games you win simply because you have the best quarterback on the field. So, Detroit, I wouldn't even, you can go any direction you want to in the draft. Any
I
direction.
agree.
I'm not even going to guess what they're going to do.
Actually, I have Trayvon Walker, the defensive end, slotted here. I
Okay.
actually really like him. It's just really comes down to what will Jacksonville do. Is if Jacksonville trades out, um, we'll just have to see what the team in front of them does because I think they're going to go pass rusher. Maybe Hutchinson. They may like Thibodeau more. I don't know who they really like, but I know they're going to go pass rusher. It's just a smart thing to do. They need it. They need defensive help. They need pass rush help. Uh, you're not going to get much help on the offense at this point on the board. They could also trade back. I think it would be wise for them to trade back as well, just to pick up more uh, draft capital to be able to put more around Jared Goff and to put more on the defense, even if that's possible. But if not, that's who I've got, Trayvon Walker, because I just think that he could be a potential game changer for them in particular, especially in a division that has where they actually have the worst quarterback out of all of them. Um, so yeah, yeah. Nobody thinks Jared Goff
Proud
is
Bears
good.
fan.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
the Jags go with Hutchinson, uh, the next available player on the board would be Evan Neal. I actually have that written down. He's an offensive tackle, I believe.
Yes, yes.
And I mean, I guess they can use that, but probably defense is the best way to go with Javon Walker. So,
I don't see them doing it just because they drafted Panay Sewell last year with
okay.
I believe it was the fifth pick. So I just don't see them going offensive tackle again. And I just don't. It's not going to help Jared Goff throw passes. Yeah, even a
Yeah.
clean pocket's not going to help that guy. So he's just
No.
bad. Um, in terms of quarterbacks, maybe they fall in love with Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. I hope that they don't, and if they do, then definitely trade back. If trade back into the bottom of the top 10 and get one of those guys, but I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see a quarterback at this slot is way too high. None of them are that good. And then in terms of development, maybe if you're going to draft a guy that high at two, he needs to start right away. And Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett definitely are not in a position to start right away. They're definitely wait a year or two.
Okay.
Um, moving on to the Houston Texans. Who knows what the Houston Texans are going to do? What do you think?
Uh, Houston, Texas. So they got wide receiver needs. They need a corner, safety, pass rusher. They need a tackle. Guess they're going to get Davis Mills. I mean, I think he played all right, despite the circumstances. So um, it's a bad roster. They had needs everywhere. I have them taking Ahmad Gardner for Cincinnati,
We both do.
cornerback. Okay, because the chances are Detroit takes the pass rusher and then Jackson takes a pass rusher. Those are the best two picks. So if you can't get that, get the corner. He could be a shutdown. He's 6'2", good speed, good height. Why not? So
Exactly.
I have him taking that simply because of who was left on the board.
Exactly. I think that they would prefer the pass rushers. In fact, I know because Lovie Smith is the coach and he's all about pass rushing. So the fact that they're missing out, I know that that's going to hurt them. However, Ahmad Gardner, that I see Lovie Smith taking him just because Lovey's going to see the second coming of Peanut Tillman. That's what he's going to see. He's going to try to teach him to get Peanut down there, teach him the peanut punch, but he's got the same, like the size is 6'2", same rangy, long, athletic type arms. Not great at speed, but he's not horrible at the speed in terms of speed. And so because of that, uh, I definitely know that's the type of pick that Lovey wants. The other thing that I could see is I could actually see them going offensive tackle and getting Evan Neal as well. That's definitely a perfect. If you believe that Davis Mills is the future, then going out there and getting that offensive tackle makes total sense, especially since the offensive line is atrocious. But mostly, I just felt bad for Lovey. Simply put, he finally got to a team that had a legitimate quarterback, and they traded the quarterback away just after he took the job. And I just feel bad for him.
Well,
You know how I feel
uh,
about Lovey.
it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. It's not. I mean, Deshaun Watson was probably not going to play for the team, so you had to have known that there was a possibility he wasn't going to be there.
Yeah.
So
It's unfortunate. But hey, black coaches got to take jobs where they can get them because they not promised no matter how
can't
bad
be picky, man. You want to get
the
back in the
black
saddle,
coaches
you
get
just
died. They got to
you
take the
can't be picky.
job.
Yeah,
Especially Lovey. This is third time around. That's like unheard of for a black coach to get a third opportunity. So he better
well,
take
yeah,
it and
two in the
use it.
NFL, one in college.
He
He
did. He was with the Bears. He did Tampa Bay. So
right?
and then he went to Illinois in college, and now he's back third
Yeah,
time
yeah,
around
yeah,
in the
yeah. Okay,
pros.
I
Yeah,
was like, he did. Yeah, two in the NFL, one in college.
yeah, yeah. So to get a third shot in in the pros, like I don't think I've ever seen a black coach get a third shot. It's not
No.
even often that white coaches get third shots. So yeah, good for him. Hopefully it works out. All right, moving on to the New York Jets. Who are they taking?
I have Kavan Thibodeaux. I might have said his name wrong.
Thibodeau.
Uh,
Come on, man. You're
Thibodeau.
supposed to know that. He's from Chicago.
What?
Thibodeau. You're
That's
supposed
how
to
you
know that
spell
when you
that?
see it.
I've actually never known how to spell that. Is that Thibodeau? Man,
Yes,
I
that's
feel
Thibodeau.
bad. I mean, I
You're from
know.
Chicago. You're
Okay,
supposed to
well, I
know
like
that.
to apologize for that from Chicago. Simply because Jets, they have average pass rushers. They've had good corners over the years. They've had good linebackers. They've never had the pass rusher to just, let's strike fear. And he had a last year, just previous year, it was amazing. He terrorized the Pac-12s and everything. So I think it's about time Jets got a pass rusher.
Yeah, and honestly, he's just best player on the board. I don't see why you wouldn't take him there. I had him there too as well. That's what they would go with. They don't need an offensive tackle because Evan Neal makes a lot of sense if they did, but since they don't, they got Mekhi Becton. They're good with Thibodeau. He wrecks backfields. He wrecked havoc all through the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 is a little bit of a weaker league, so we'll see how that translates to the NFL. It may take him a moment, but at least in the interim, he'll be at least a good third down rusher, and we'll see where he goes from there. Hopefully, he's everything that they say he is. Um, all right, moving forward to the fifth pick, New York Giants. They're on the clock.
I think this one is offensive line help. So Evan O'Neal, he's still on the board.
Hmm.
Uh, you brought in the offensive coordinator, and best way to protect your quarterback is offensive line help. So even if you draft a quarterback, which I think they'll play it out with who they have, or at very least, I think that they may draft if they draft a quarterback later. But right now, the best way is to offensive line help, and Evan O'Neal is the best offensive lineman left on the board. So you got to take him.
Yeah, it's crazy that we have the same mind because I'm totally there with you. I think that he's the best player on the board, and he also fits a need for them. They need offensive line help badly to help Daniel Jones. This is his final year to get it right, and they have to give him all the opportunities in the world to see if he can actually be a primetime player. I don't think so. I think that they should have given up on him already. I believe that Malik Willis wouldn't be a bad option here if they're sold on him, just because I believe that the next team is going to take him. However, if you're going to believe in Daniel Jones, you've got to give him opportunity to be great. And also, it wouldn't hurt to help Saquon Barkley out a little bit too, since he's injury prone. So keeping him a little more clean through the pocket, through the hole, and trying to get him to that second level, hopefully that'll help keep him somewhat healthy. All right,
Okay.
moving forward, Carolina Panthers. Who are they going to take, Charles?
We're probably going to say the same thing, but I'd say it's time to get a quarterback. I
Yes.
mean, they, out of all the teams, unless someone trades up, he's just going to fall for him. And I think he can. I think with some coaching, he could be a good one. 6 feet tall, freakish athlete, uh, very. Uh, he's got a good arm. Like I don't have my notes. Sorry. He has a very good arm. I think he can make passes into tight windows, and I saw his highlights. And he can make those passes, which you'll need to make into. You need that to translate to the pros. So I think he has the tools to do it. I think he is the best quarterback that's here. And if unless someone trades up, he'll probably be the first quarterback taken off the board.
All right. So I actually think that they're going to take Malik Willis, but I have a different person on my board of who
Okay.
I think they should take. It's offensive tackle
Okay.
Charles Cross. So I don't know if you're
Okay.
familiar with him, but he went to Mississippi State. Charles Cross is a absolute beast. He's got ideal size, length, athleticism. Um, if you ever watched any game tape on him, the guy can even get out of the move a little bit. He's got a little bit of a nasty streak. He's the guy I want. Uh, and then also playing at Mississippi State, he's got that SEC pedigree. And, if I'm going to take guys from any conference, it's always going to be the SEC, and then secondarily it'll be the Big Ten. Those guys, it's just they're just built different than everybody else. You can find players from other conferences. Those guys just the level of competition that they have to play against night in and night out just prepares them for the league. So that's where I would go. All right,
Okay.
moving forward, the New York Giants are on the clock
New York.
again, and grudgingly, I'm happy with Justin Fields, but I hate to give up this draft pick. Um, Number seven, where do they go?
Uh, like I said, the roster's bad all over, but you take the next player, and I have them taking Kyle Hamilton, safety for Notre Dame.
Okay,
Giants need a safety. He's the next best player on the board, so just take the best player. And dude's a stud. 6'4", 219, physical specimen. Uh, good range, good length. Uh, I don't see any reason why you don't take this person. Last year, I have the stats: 5 interceptions, 12 pass deflections. That's pretty good. 63 tackles. So I haven't taken a safety. Might as well get the best player, and he was the next best player on the board.
okay. So so now we're starting to differ a little bit. I have North Carolina State. I don't know. I can never say his name right. It's Ikwanu. He's another offensive tackle. I think this is a perfect spot to take that second offensive tackle. They've got Makai Becton on the left side. They get the right side. He's kind of ideal for you. He can play the left side if you need him to, but you can have him play the right side. He's another guy. He's got great athleticism, strength. He can move, so you can even put him inside and guard if you needed to. He's just a great pick for them, um, and I don't think that would hurt for Jets the Giants to get another offensive player there that would help them to see if Daniel Jones is the real deal. And if even if he's not, now you've got the offensive line built for the next quarterback. Okay. And then number 8, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes. Sorry, I apologize. I apologize. Number 8 is the Atlanta Falcons. I
Was
just
it
led on to something that I had in my mind. Go ahead.
okay? I'm like maybe like did they trade out for your draft? That's what it is.
In my mind, they do. Sorry,
Uh,
I led on to something. We'll get back to that.
okay. So Atlanta, biggest thing obviously they don't have Matt Ryan, so I'm guess they picked up Marcus Mariota, so he's supposed to be the starter more than likely. I don't see them getting a quarterback with this pick, but I mean the team's not great. They need talent. They have needs all over the place. So the best thing you can do, obviously, I've always said this is get offensive lineman help. So I have them taking. Oh wait, hold on. Who do I have them taking? I have them taking Charles Cross, the tackle
Okay,
from Mississippi State.
that's not a bad
Uh,
pick for them,
so
actually.
uh, he's 6'4". He can do it. Uh, very athletic, very rangy, good against the run, good against the pass. Um, very good. Sometimes offensive linemen they struggle with passing players on when defensive players doing their stunts. He does a great job picking it up and passing it off. So best thing you do is help the player out. So I have them taking him.
Just a side note: when you see me looking up like this, oh, I'm totally looking at the Celtics game, and I just have to tell you, they're back in it. They're down by 4. Just got to report
Uh-huh.
that. All right, but
Okay.
yes, all right. Pick number 8. So I'm super excited. So, but I'm dedicated. That's why we're doing this during the game. All right. So at pick number 8, I actually have Malik Willis finally coming off the board. Whether it's Atlanta, um, or in this case, I have it where the Steelers are going to trade up for Malik Willis. I think this is actually a perfect spot for him to go to the Steelers. They've got Trubisky there. No one wants him in all of Pittsburgh. They can't wait to get rid of him, and this would give them the futuristic pick that they could have. There's clearly a roster spot open with the tragic death of I can't think of his name now. I don't know why. It just eluded me. Ohio State quarterback. I don't know why. It just eluded me. I had literally just had his
Dwayne
name.
Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins. Yeah. With the tragic passing of him, they definitely have a roster spot open. Um, I think that the Steel City is ideal for Malik Willis in terms of his play style, his dynamic throwing of the ball is very similar to what um, Big Ben likes to do. However, the one problem I have with Malik Willis is that he's like a 6 foot quarterback. So he's probably really like 5'11" or 5'10". We know how those guys get beat up. See Russell Wilson now at the end of his career. Um, if he otherwise, Atlanta is another one that makes a lot of sense for him. I think that his personality, being a black quarterback in Atlanta, means something different. It's special. So the city would take care of him. They would ingratiate him into their culture right away. So that's where I see him going. All right. And then we'll move on to number 9, the Seattle Seahawks. What do they do post Russell? What's that last name?
Wilson.
Just a little insight.
Russell Wilson. You got to go quarterback here. So you got to replace them. They're not going to do anything. So uh, technically the top quarterback is Kenny Pickett, but I have them taking Matt Corral because he's more mobile, and I think Pete Carroll will prefer a little more mobility. Still got a good arm, 4,600 yards, 35 touchdowns, 66% completion, uh, 641 yards to the ground, 5 touchdowns. So he's a dual threat quarterback. I think simply because he's a dual threat, Pete Carroll will pick him over the other quarterback who is a better thrower will be Kenny Pickett. But I have the Seahawks taking Matt Corral.
No, see, I actually have them trading out. I think that the quarterback, they're not looking at a quarterback this year. I think this is a throwaway season. This is totally a development season. They're going to take this season, they're going to trade back. They're going to try to pick up as many draft picks as possible and then build the team again. They're going to follow the same Russell Wilson strategy that they followed before. Build the team, get it as solid as possible, and then go looking for your quarterback in a few years. That's what I think they're going to do here. Whether it's Pete Carroll's the coach or not, that's another story because he's a little long in the tooth. He's in his 70s, so whether he survives or not through all of this, I don't know. But either way, I think that's where they're going. So I actually have Denver taking Derek Stingley Jr. here in a trade up, and I like him. I think he's a Denver type of guy, and they definitely need cornerback help, um, especially since they're going for it. All right, moving on to the 10th pick. That's the New York Jets.
Oh, Jets. The New York Jets. Hello, you want to go first? I've always been going first.
Yeah, sure. I think they're going to take Jermaine Johnson the second. I like him a lot. So he's a nice corner. Man, I would love him on the Bears. He's a nice, he's a
I
nice
don't
corner.
think
He's got
that's gonna happen.
I maybe one day. He had a really nice dominant performance at the Senior Bowl. I think that he's a great prospect. Um, he's a huge position of need for them. So that's why I think that they'll take him. His size is solid. His he's rangy. Um, I think he can play in their defense. I think he's one of those players that I can actually play in multiple defenses. So I'd like to see what they can do with him. I just don't really see any other value there for them.
Okay. That's I got nothing bad about that one. I say the Jets. Uh, the first pick, I had them picking a pass rusher. Now they need offensive line help because the rookie quarterback got beat up. They could have ran the ball better. So you go on the other side in the trenches, excuse me. And I was divided at first because it was like, all right, who do we want, tackle or guard? And I ended up going with tackle, Trevor uh, Penny, because he's just the next best
Mm.
tackle. It's a little bit of a reach, but you got to protect the quarterback. And games are won in the trenches. So I have been picking up him, Trevor Penny,
No,
tackle from Northern
that's not a bad
Iowa.
draft. That's not a pick. Not a bad pick. I like that. All right, moving on to the Commandos. Still hard to get used to that.
Commanders.
The commies.
Commanders.
Yeah, they commandos, whatever. They're a joke. That's what they are. I've never called them by their real name because they're a joke. That team in Washington is a joke. So, what is the Daniel Snyder's going to do?
I have them taking Garrett Wilson. So might as well get another weapon. Garrett Wilson. I play him on Madden. Dude's a stud. So uh, seeing his highlights, dude's a stud. Like I wish the Bears would trade up for him, but I honestly hope that the Bears don't trade up for him because you need all the draft capital you can get.
With their
And
two draft second round draft picks, they can actually trade all the way up to on the board. The way that it works, they can all trade all the way up to 11 actually. So they can actually get
they,
here to get them.
they could. I hope they
Wait.
don't. Draft picks. We got too many needs just to get one person. I don't know.
Justin Fields
Like
played with them.
I, and he's Garrett Wilson is a stud. I do think he's the best pro ready receiver. He might not be the best receiver when it's all said and done. But pro ready, I think it's Garrett Wilson. So 5'11", a little undersized, but he could play the X. Uh, makes tough catches, decent blocker, uh, very good awareness. So why not add more firepower to Commanders? I don't think with the quarterback talent that's here, I think if they decide to go quarterback, maybe second round. But for right now, just grab another weapon. Can't go wrong with that.
I like him a lot. He looks like he plays under control. He looks a little slow on the field, but it might just be the tape that I'm seeing.
Hmm.
I didn't look at his 40 time to know how fast he really is, but in my opinion, 40 times generally don't mean much anyway. Just because when you put on pads, the 40 time goes away, and guys that are slower play faster than with pads on than guys who had great 40 times. So but I like him a lot. I actually have the commies taking Kyle Hamilton. So I, I'm never going to call them commanders, man. Never. Shoot, I just stopped calling them racial slurs. I've
Oh,
been
the
calling them
racial
the
slurs.
slurs forever.
I like the foot. Well, no, I didn't like the football team, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
I can't get used to it. But yeah, I have them taking taking Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton's pretty much regarded as like the best football player in this draft. It's not even close. There's been debate about taking him number one overall as a safety, and like, would anyone do it? Um, and then he would be potentially the first safety drafted in the top 10, potentially. And since Eric Berry, I think Eric Berry went fourth, I want to say. So he would be the first one since then. The only thing that's scary about him is just the 40 time, really. Uh,
okay,
yeah. So he had a really, really bad 40 time, but he's still a safety, and I think he's a great player. I think it would be great for them just because they have so many holes to fill. Why not just go with the best player available and potentially the best player in the draft? Um, moving on, we'll look at pick number 12, the Minnesota Vikings, another hated team of ours.
right.
You know what? I take that back. I don't hate them. I tell this to people all the time. I don't really hate the Lions or the Vikings because I know that they're just going to screw it up anyway. So seeing them win, even if they beat the Bears, it doesn't mean much to me just because I know that they're not going anywhere. And the Packers are the only team that actually is a real threat. So they're a team I really truly hate. But they're disliked. Um, this is where I actually have Garrett Wilson going. I have him going
Okay.
to Minnesota. And the reason why I have him going to Minnesota is because I believe that um, I can't think of his name now. I don't know why these names are eluding me today.
Justin Jefferson.
No, not Justin Jefferson, the white boy. I can't think of his name. On the other side, the other receiver. I think that his time is up pretty much. Adam Thielen. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. I think he's declining. It's obvious. Um, and hey, you know, I'm all for the white receiver, man. You know that. I'm all for the white receiver. They are special. They are to be treasured because they're so rare. They're rare like snow tigers. All right. But his time is up. And so I see Garrett Wilson fitting in nicely with Justin Jefferson. They could play off of each other, kind of like how Thielen and Jefferson did for a couple of years. And you get some young blood in there. It might make Kirk Cousins a little less 50-50, might make him a little bit better than he ever has been. Yeah, Kirk Cousins is 50-50, you know, 50%
Hey,
50% chance of a touchdown, 50% chance of an interception.
there was
So
a. Go ahead.
what'd you say? What'd you say?
There's a coworker I worked with when I used to work at Amazon, the warehouse,
Okay.
and he's a Viking. They had a couple of Vikings fans in there. It's tough, a couple of Vikings fans in there. But he's like Kirk Cousins. The problem with Kirk Cousins is, as long as he starts off good, he's fine. Whenever he makes that first bad decision, it just ripples. And then the next drive, he makes the next bad decision. And that's what you get from the rest of the game. So it's like, it's not that he's terrible. As long as he doesn't make any mistakes, he's fine. But the minute he makes a mistake and you know he's going to, the next possession, it's another mistake. The next possession, another mistake. But the new organization are apparently going to keep him for another year. So I think you have to.
Well,
But
as bad as he
um,
is, who do you turn to? It's like you always say, if you're going to let him go, you have to have a replacement, right?
you have to have a replacement because if you don't replace him, the fans are going to be looking for blood. Like, hey, he wasn't that bad.
Right.
He wasn't
The
perfect, but this
alternative
new guy's garbage. Us fans,
alternative
we're
can
all
always
about
be
that
better.
instant gratification.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We gotta
And
get it now.
we got rid of Jay Cutler and got Mike Glennon. It can always be
Listen,
worse.
Cutler, come back, Cutler.
It can always
Cutler
be
threw the
so
deep
much
ball,
worse.
man. Cutler threw the deep ball. I seen
So
him. The one like Cutler doesn't care if he feels like you gonna catch it. He's gonna. He threw Jordan Howard his rookie year ran a wheel route. I just say that slowly because I messed that up. I don't know too many. He ran a wheel route, and Jordan Howard is not a possession running back. He's not. He could do a short pass, but down the field, he ain't doing
yeah,
that.
no, special hands.
He
That's what I used to call them.
He ran the route. Dude's about 30, 40 years down, 30, 40 yards down the field, and Cutler threw it to him. Jordan Howard had the man beat, stretched out. Now he dropped it. Could have been caught. But he threw that pass. It's like Cutler don't care. Like Trubisky might have not have thrown that because he's like, look, I like you, but you probably won't make that catch. Cutler don't care. I miss you, Cutler. I miss you, Cutler. It's been cold without you. It's been,
Hey, as
it's
much
been
as I
cold.
hated Jay Cutler, he was so much better than everything else that came after him. So, and
You
that's how
know,
I feel about Kirk Cousins. I mean, who are you going to go to after him? So,
so
you know how I
Trubisky,
feel about Kellen Mond, and I like
because
Kellen Mond, but obviously they don't believe in him.
I don't think Kellen Mond was ready. He wasn't. He clearly, I saw him in preseason, and he wasn't even like, you don't have to dominate, but make some highlights. I thought he made more mistakes in the preseason than he did actual plays. And in regular season, he was the third quarterback on the depth chart. So
I
he
believe it.
clearly wasn't ready.
I
So
never said he
I'd
was
say,
ready to start. I just said that
okay.
development.
I, I'll say about Trubisky real quick because I'm a Trubisky apologist. The problem is you really wasn't winning games because of him. Now, he didn't toss a lot of interceptions, so he wasn't losing games. But if you're the quarterback and you're not the reason that we're winning, I mean, that's a little bit of a problem. Sometimes you got to be the reason we win. Not every game you're supposed to hand it out, throw it short, and you're not going to win all that. Sometimes quarterbacks got to come out and win games. Trubisky just wasn't that guy.
No, no.
I could blame that on. I blame Mac Nagy more than him, but anyways, we're not Bears talk.
Well,
So,
I can go on a tangent about that forever. And
my,
we could literally make a whole podcast about that, and it go like 8 hours.
mhm.
Because I know you would be on the subject of Trubisky, but we're gonna move forward.
Trubisky. Oh, I didn't give
We're
my
gonna go
pick for the
to
Vikings. Real quick, my pick for the
yes,
Vikings, because they're keeping Kirk Cousins. I went best player, Amari Gardner, the Sauce. That's his
okay,
nickname for Cincinnati. Great stats, 12 deflections, 6 interceptions. I went with him, but looking back, it seems like the Vikings are drafting a corner in like the first 3 rounds every draft, and they still aren't figuring that out. So,
no, just like the Green Bay Packers did that for a number of years, couldn't figure it out. They got one out of all of that, one.
so
So
you got to keep taking stabs at it until it gets
you
better.
do. All right,
So,
moving forward, we're going to go to the Houston Texans again at number 13. Who is
uh,
on the board?
so I had them going offensive line, I believe, the first pick. So this one I went with edge rusher because I need it, and the best edge rusher is Jermaine Johnson, Florida State. He's the best
Okay.
one left. So uh, that's all I got to say. I don't know too much about him. He's just the best defensive edge rusher, and I went with him.
I actually have them taking Drake London, the receiver from USC. The reason why I haven't
Okay.
taken him is just because Terry McLaurin's in a contract year. He clearly wants a big contract, and uh, the commies. I mean, I say commies. I mean, Houston
Yeah,
needs.
I'm like
I,
Terry
I,
McLaurin.
I don't know why I'm talking about. You know why? Because I think that this is going to be a trade. But anyway, and I'm talking about commies. I don't know why I'm talking about the commies because this is Houston. So Houston, I actually still have them going to Houston just because they need weapons. There's no one to throw to in Houston. No one. They don't have anybody. Um, I think that they believe in Davis Mills. So you have to give them some type of weapon to throw to. They've already, in my draft, already went offensive line. So they've given him one person to block him. And then as we've seen, having a playmaker makes all the difference if you can get the ball to that playmaker. So getting the ball to the playmaker will help. And then Lovey, you know, Lovey's going to try to coach up a bad defense. He's gonna try to use spare parts, and Lovey can do that. But what he can't coach is offense. He can't develop quarterbacks. So they need to be investing all of their resources over there and trying to do their best to make Davis Mills as successful as possible. Because we know that Lovey can coach defense. He can take pretty okay players and make them really good players. Um, For example, see Spice Adams on that front. Spice Adams is a very very low level player. Love Spice, great dude. Met him a number of times. Uh, I got nothing bad to say about him, but he was just he's a mid player. But Lovey took him to the greatest heights he could possibly go. Um, and he did that for a number of players. So that's why I have him going offense there. All right, moving forward. Number 14, the Ravens. Where do they go?
Ravens, several needs as well. Uh, like every team has a bunch of needs. They could upgrade the center, corner, edge, wide receiver. I went with best player. Sometimes you gotta go with the best player, you know, not overthink it. And right now, the best player on the board was Jordan Davis, defensive tackle out of Georgia. Uh, Dude's a mammoth, 340 pounds, 6'6" for a defensive tackle. They're usually 6'2", 6'3", maybe, but not 6'6". But hey, he can get up the run blocks. He can get a little pressure, and gotta get back to playing good defense, Ravens. So win the game in the trenches, and one way is by drafting Jordan Davis.
Yeah, and we're both in the same frame of mind. I chose Jordan Davis as well. Massive man. He ran that crazy 50 time, which has got to be pretty exciting. Of that, I mean, sorry, 50 time, 40-yard dash time. He's disruptive. Uh, the Ravens know, if anybody knows anything about the Ravens, they know that they love their defensive tackles. They've had Saragusa during their championship runs. They had Haloti Nagata for a number of years during another championship run. It's what they do. They go out and get that guy. So this is a perfect time for them to go out and get it. Although they have a bunch of holes on the offensive side in terms of, like, say, receivers, I don't think there's a lot of value here for a receiver. So for that reason, either you trade back or you take the defensive lineman, and I think you take the defensive lineman here because it's just going to make their defense work that much better, especially when they have some secondary issues. All right, 15th pick, and we'll stop here at the 15th pick because I think that it gets a little murky. We'll have a little Bears talk, have some fun after the 15th pick. All right, so the 15th pick is the Philadelphia Eagles. Where do they go?
I went with corner. They could have. We know they're going to give Jalen Hurts another year. They can use pass rusher. They can use linebacker. They can use safety. But I saw that Devin. Yeah, I have his name right here. Derek Singletary. Excuse me, Derek Singletary from LSU. He was still on the board. Got the speed to match up with fast receivers. Very good mechanics. Very good technique. Doesn't get beat often. Uh, Originally started off as wide receiver and then switched to corner, so that's invaluable. So I went with him because they can
Good
use
ball
it. Why not?
skills. Well, I actually have them taking Traylon Burks. And the reason why I'm taking Traylon Burks, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's from Arkansas, a big, thick receiver. Um, it's invaluable to have a pass catcher. It's invaluable, especially if you're investing in your quarterback. And now's the time to figure out if Jalen Hurts is any good. They don't really know. They know that he can take them to the playoffs, but they don't really know how good he is. And the best thing you can do for any young receiver young quarterback is to give them a big Brandon Marshall type receiver that can catch balls, catch those, because they don't have Alshon Jeffrey anymore. So he's going to play that Alshon Jeffrey role. And that type of quarterback receiver will give him a tight end like uh, body. And that's exactly what you want there a for a good receiver to help the quarterback. And hey, if it doesn't work, then they've done all they could, and they'll find another quarterback in the next round. Any other
I got.
takeaways?
Well, we're gonna stop here. It's a crapshoot. You never know how it's gonna go. Just because I say best player available, some teams you just may covet a player. Like I gotta have this person. You know, if the like best receiver is Garrett Wilson, you know, New York's got an offensive coach. He's like, hey, we need more weapons. We're getting this dude. That's it. So just because he's the best player, it can go either way. So
Yeah.
you never know.
And just so you know, because I'm keeping tabs on this game, Boston's back in this, man. They're down by 4.
How
Just
much time is left?
1 minute, 1.5 minutes in the third quarter. So it's anybody's ball game. So when we get done recording, we'll be able to catch the rest of the most important part of the game, which will be probably the last
The ending.
7 minutes. So it's pretty awesome just to keep tabs on that. But hey, that's the dedication we do. We give the people what they want, and we do whatever we got to do, even when we're missing an amazing playoff game. But we're also not sacrificing because partially because we're not missing the Bulls play, which is what we really want to see is the Bulls get smacked by Milwaukee, right?
Tough.
So, what is our favorite team going to do? What would you like for our favorite team to do?
Trade back one of the second round picks. Uh, get a pick later in the second round, and then get a pick in the third round for this year's draft. You got 2 seconds, 2/3. You need two to be starters. The other two could be depth or rotation pieces. Because at this point, you need bodies, you need talent. You gave away Mac. You traded away Mac. Uh, the guard that we gave away, Daniel
McDaniels, they just let them walk.
McD- yeah, they let him walk. You're giving away talent, and we got to get some talent back. With
Agreed.
free agency, I think that it was a gaffle not getting the Bills right guard. I can't think of the guy's name. I should have
Yeah,
wrote that
yeah.
down.
Well, he was a
But
restricted free agent, so the
I
Bills had
know
the
if
right
you
to match.
offered him 4 million a year, if you offer him 6 or 7, Bills can't match that. And I get it, you don't want to overpay, but the free agency, you got to overpay a little bit to get the player you want. So, I don't know. Like, I'm not surprised that they matched it, to be honest. So now, because he didn't put money for that, we got to definitely prioritize getting offensive linemen.
Um,
So,
I'm kind of torn, honestly. I don't know what the Bears should do, just because this isn't a great draft, and they don't have the draft capital to get the players that they really want or need. Um, I do think that trading back is probably the way to go, just to get more draft capital, and then just to fill as many holes as possible, and hopefully those players work out. Just buying one lottery ticket is not going to equal buying 7 or 8 lottery tickets. You've got a greater chance at 7 or 8 lottery tickets, obviously, just because the odds are in your favor. However, um, I don't think that we can get necessarily the player that we want at that first pick. I think it was 39, I believe. So
yes.
um, for that, I would trade back on that one. At 42, I believe that's the second one. That's 42. Um, I would stay there, or it's in the 40s. I know that. It's just eluding me at the moment, and I can't see it. So whatever they do, I just hope that they get the right players. In terms of that right guard that they wanted from the Bills, I was okay with it. I know it looked bad, but here's the thing about Ryan Poles that I figured out: the guy refuses to overpay for anyone. He just does, and I'm okay with that because even if you look at the Kansas City model, they haven't overpaid for anyone, not one player. That's why Tyreek Hill went bye bye. That's why he's with the Dolphins. They refuse to overpay for anyone. The only person that they will pay for is Patrick Mahomes. And one could argue that he didn't get paid enough because of his value to that franchise. That 500 million was not enough. He probably deserved $1 billion for 10 years for what he's going to do for the next decade plus. So I'm okay with that model. I think that the Bears are doing everything right in terms. I know a lot of fans are really upset. They don't like the inactivity. But here's the thing: go back and look at the last two GMs. Go back and look at them, or last three GMs. I'll throw Angelo in there too. Angelo, Emerson, and Pace. First thing they did was make big free agent splashes. How did that work out for us?
We missed more than we hit.
Absolutely. And we gave away tons of our cap. Tons of it. I could go Musa and Muhammad. Terrible. Terrible. He was one of the first
I
players we
like
brought in.
I like Musa Muhammad.
I
I
like
liked him.
Moose. But Moose
I
was
think
Moose was done.
Go ahead.
He was cooked.
We we got him on the latter years, and the Bears were a run first team anyway. So if we
Julius
had got
Peppers.
him in this, Julius Peppers was solid the first couple of years.
Was he worth the money we gave him?
The first 2 years, yes. The last year, no.
He was just okay. Slightly, what, 11 sacks, 12 sacks, 13 sacks, something like that. But when you're the highest paid defender, we need 15 or more every single season. It's the same problem I had with Khalil Mack. Same problem I had with Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack hit double digits once with 12 sacks, never hit double digits again, ate up all of our salary cap. We weren't able to get better because we had that guy on our team.
So this guy.
And
So
go ahead.
go ahead.
So
Uh,
my point to Bears fans is be patient. We're playing the long game. We're building the team right. We're not overspending on anything. They're going to build through the draft, which is something that our his predecessor just refused to do, was to build through the draft. So I think we're on the right pace. Now, in terms of who to take, I have no unearthly idea. None.
well, who would you? Let's do the second round then. We don't get to do the whole because it's a crapshoot. In the second round, which two players would you like the Bears to draft? We got two picks there.
Um, Everybody's talking about that Christian Watson. I like him, but what scares me about him, and I'd be okay with the Bears took him because I think that the second round is where you kind of take a bit of a chance on someone who should have been first round talent, but they just, for whatever reason, they just didn't make it to the first round. And I think he has first round talent. But what scares me about him is that he comes from a small school. We just don't know what his talent level truly is just because he didn't play against good talent. He's honestly pretty much the only person that I have looked at that I was like, okay, he looks pretty good. Um, in terms of the third round, I know John Michie the third is going to be around there. I
Mhm.
love John Michie the third from Alabama. He's a speedster. I think he's a great receiver. He got hurt there in the championship game towards ACL, so he's not going to be available right away. Um, Probably will miss all of training camp, and that's crucial for rookies to make the training camp. So he's probably a guy that mid-season or the latter part of the season probably finally gets a shot after he comes off the pup list. But I would take a chance on him just because he has blazing speed and he has really good talent. And with those Alabama receivers, they had so many good Alabama receivers. He was kind of overshadowed at times. So I think that his production, you could see his production go up. He reminds me a lot of a Darnell Mooney type. And I think having another Darnell Mooney type in this type of offense would not hurt, just because speed kills. We do need to find that big receiver that Sammy Watkins type at some point, but I don't think it's this year. What are
Don't
your
do it.
who are you looking at?
So I have my top two receivers that I want. George Pickens.
Hmm.
Watching his highlights, yeah, he had the injury. So this year, last year was
Yeah,
a down year. His highlights, he makes some tough catches. Some tough catches he makes. Above average speeds. He can be the X receiver. Uh, I love his highlights. The other guy, Christian Watkins. He
yes,
has too many highlights of him doing reverses and stuff out there, that a running back would do. So I wouldn't be mad if the Bears drafted either player. Of course, I want George Pickens first. Christian Watkins, the entire draft, they say he's a risk, he's a gamble. The draft itself is a gamble. So to say that one player is particularly more riskier than someone else, um, doesn't matter. Christian Watkins has a very high ceiling. He has what you can't teach, height and speed. Some players got the height, but they're not very fast. Some players got the speed, they ain't tall, they ain't out jumping no one. The passes has got to be accurate. Christian Watkins has that rare size to speed ratio.
right.
Reminds me of Megatron. Now, I don't have the hands of Megatron, but it reminds me of that. Megatron, you know, he can burn you. He's fast. And if for some reason the pass isn't great or jump ball, Christian Watkins is going to outjump everyone. He's going to outjump everyone.
I
So
agree.
with either player, I wouldn't be mad. I think Georgia Pickens is a better receiver for Christian Watkins. If the Bears draft him, first year, he don't have to be number one. You still got Mooney and Pringle. Christian Watkins can spend this season learning his routes and slowly easing into the offense. So if they get George Pickens, he's going to slide right in just fine. Um, I have
People like Pickens a
one of
lot.
those two. Yeah, one of those two is be fine. I also I remember because the Bears they played Tevin Jenkins at left tackle, and I was one of the people that was like, no, no, he should be right. Tevin Jenkins originally started left tackle, and the reason why he went to right because there was an injury. So the guy coming off the bench, Tevin Jenkins talked to him was like, hey, which side are you more comfortable with? The guy said left. So after that, Tevin Jenkins moved to the right. And that's how he spent the rest of his college career. So he started as a left. And I think he is capable. I think with the healthy offseason, he'll be fine. I would like to see him try to be the left tackle because I think he could do it. So
Well,
with the
they're
other,
practicing him at the right tackle right now, so it looks
okay,
like he may be
okay,
the right tackle, and they're
he might
putting
be.
Gorham over there at left tackle.
Hey, I would be perfectly fine with that. I think Bourne can do it.
I do too.
I think the first two picks, wide receiver, and then the second pick, the best guard you can find. Since we boggled the Bills, but I understand they didn't overpay. But the next pick, the best guard you can find.
Speaking of guards, Kenyon Green is the guy that everybody's talking about. If the Bears stay over there at I think it's 39th pick, um, that's the one that they're
So,
talking about
okay,
from Texas A&M. I've
okay.
seen a little bit of tape of him. He's kind of nasty. They say that he's got first round talent. He may sneak into the first round, but he's a guard, so guards are either late first rounders or they're early second rounders. Just because people try not to take them, you know how good you have to be a first round guard. You basically, yeah, you got to be amazing. So I wouldn't be opposed to that just because we need another guard. Obviously, we got to replace James Daniels, who I was just disappointed about. I really thought when we drafted him, I was so excited because I knew how good he was in college. It's just unfortunate that he didn't work out. He just turned out to be softer than we ever thought it would be. So if they pick him up, I'm all for it. Pickens is fine. I have no objection. Watkins is great as well. Um, and then the other person everybody's talking about is Mario Goodrich. Have you seen him, the
No,
cornerback? So that's the other
I
prediction that I've seen floating around.
I've seen Kyler Gordon going at
Okay.
39. I've seen him. I think wide receiver is more important than a bigger need than corner. Even though cornerback is just a blank, like there's a bunch of question marks. We know our coach can work with a bunch of no-name players. You need some name players on offense.
See, I'm going to disagree with you there. I would actually prefer corner over receiver. I think there's a number of talented receivers that are out there still in free agency that the Bears could go out there and try to get. Um, I mean, I know Julio Jones is kind of like not the same player he was, but he's definitely better than anything the Bears had previously, and he would come as a bargain. Um, and he would take some of the spotlight away from Mooney. Uh, I think that Byron
Uh,
Pringle is actually better than people believe, and I think that people are going to be absolutely surprised when he gets a real opportunity.
I think he's better than what people believe. At worst, he could be a number two. Him and Mooney can start. I don't think Julio's coming to the Bears. It would be nice to get him. He's in this stage of his career where he's probably going to go to a contender, and that ain't us.
Maybe,
And if
but
for some reason go
seems
ahead.
like nobody wants him.
If for some reason he comes to the Bears, then the next question is how much is it going to cost? Because Ryan Post isn't
Not
overpaying.
much.
So
There's a number of veteran receivers out there that are still very very good that I think that the Bears could pick up um, instead of and get the cornerback because cornerbacks are harder to find than receivers. Receivers you can absolutely find second, third, fourth, even fifth round, like Mooney. You can find them. They're very good. Um, so, but finding corners later in the draft, that's hard to do. That's extremely hard to do. It's very rare that you find an undrafted free agent or a 6th round pick or something like that that actually works out as a cornerback. So I would actually go corner. I would prefer it. I think that that would be, if we could have someone on the opposite side of Jalen Johnson, that would do miracles for our defense. I would also try to
Oh,
see if we can trade away Robert Quinn. I would totally trade away Robert Quinn because I just don't think the Bears are going anywhere. So send him to a team that needs him, wants him. Try to get a 3rd round pick or 4th round pick for him, and then now we can get a little more depth.
I'd be okay with that. You probably a third or fourth is fine. Um, if we get a corner with the first pick, I'd be okay with that. That is a need. The,
Major need,
that is a
probably
need.
the sneaky most underrated need that the
Okay,
Bears have. And honestly, it's probably the most glaring hole of all of them. I just think that people are so focused, they're so hyper focused on Justin Fields that they totally ignore everything else that's going wrong with the Bears. And the number one thing going wrong with the Bears is the cornerback position. It's the worst. Right? I
it's
can't
not
do
great
another year
and
of
it's
that.
not even funny. It's terrible. Like
No,
you have to draft with your first three picks, one of it should be corner. Like you need offensive lineman, but then you need corner. Wide receiver talent, like we saw what Cincy did in the draft last year. We all thought they needed offensive lineman, and nobody would have blamed them for picking offensive lineman, and yet they got a receiver.
exactly.
And how well did that work out?
Exactly.
Dude was a solid. So I wonder how much of an effect moves like that have on teams. Because teams know you need protection, teams know you need defense. And the Bengals team that went to the Super Bowl was flawed.
Extremely.
Yet their offense did enough to get them there. So
But no one thinks they're coming back to the Super Bowl. We'd actually be shocked if they even make the playoffs again. They're that bad.
well, it's a tough division now. It got tougher. So
It did.
I think the Browns will probably win the division, more than likely. But then after that,
Or the
the
Raiders.
Steelers got quarterback issues, so they got to figure that out. The quarterback position, that's a big question mark.
If Lamar is
So
MVP Lamar, nobody's stopping him.
so it's a tough division.
Yeah, it is.
So
But
any
even
one of
if
them
it
can make it.
wasn't, like their defensive holes, Eli Apple, they re-signed Eli Apple to be their starting corner. That says all you need to know about the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, they're not good. They're not going to be good. It was a fluke. Um, they'll be they're going to be like the San Diego Chargers. They're going to go like 7-9 or 9-9 and no. That's the old way. What is it now? You can go 9 and
It'd be it's 17 games, so
yeah,
7 and 10,
yeah, 7-10 or
8 and 9.
yeah, something like that. 8-9, something. That's what they're going to be for the next decade. It's going to be like all like Carson Palmer all over again. They're just going to waste his career away, and then he's going to retire and come back and go to the Raiders or something like Carson Palmer did. Well,
It could happen.
we are all out of time. We actually went over a little bit, but it's a fun chat talking about the NFL draft. So next week we'll have another discussion for you guys, and then we're going to do a emergency podcast after the draft on the very first night, so that we can just give our responses. So you guys are going to get 2 for 1. Any party shots or takeaways?
Party shots.
Yeah.
Party shots. I don't have any party shots. No, no, I don't have
Okay.
any party
All
shots.
right.
No.
Well,
So
ladies and gentlemen, we just want to thank you guys for watching the dialogue. Make sure that you watch us on YouTube, rate us and review us. And hey, we'll see you next week.